rotate your phone. There you go.
All right, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. Of course, being Friday, it is Fitness Athlete Friday, and I'm your host, Dr. Zach Long, part of the Fitness Athlete Division for the Institute of Clinical Excellence. And today, we're going to be talking about the bench press. This is kind of spurred on by a question in our ICE students past and present page, where an individual is asking a question about the arch in the bench press. We're going to get to that. But my thought with that question was it's a movement that we don't cover a whole lot. The Fitness Athlete Division is really focused around the CrossFit functional fitness athlete that doesn't perform the bench press a lot. But if you start to become known in your area as somebody that provides really high-level skilled care to those individuals, you're also going to start seeing a lot of powerlifters, or a lot of just average gym goers that do value the bench press a lot. So hopefully today we'll kind of increase your understanding of that movement a little bit so you can better treat athletes coming to you with bench press related problems. Before we dive into that, something that I get asked all the time is how do I keep up with the research and the most up-to-date evidence? And for me, one of the easiest ways is the Hump Day Hustle that we send out every single week that has 5 of the most clinically relevant articles that we see going on delivered to your email inbox absolutely for free. So check out the Hump Day Hustle at ptonice.com to get signed up for that. If you're also looking for another really easy way to stay up to date with the research, check out Virtual Ice. So Virtual Ice is our online mentorship and Con Ed platform where every week you have an ICE faculty member come to you and talk about their clinical specialty. It's a great way to get continuing education units and really stay up to date. As far as fitness athlete courses, we have a couple coming up. I'm headed to a sold-out Pittsburgh course today, but on September 21st and 22nd, Mitch and Alan will be treating at their headquarters, Health HQ/CrossFit Fitton. So check that course out. And then November 9th, I'll be teaching in Los Angeles. And the following weekend, November 16th and 17th, I'll be in Victor, New York. All right, so on to the bench press. Obviously, the bench press looks like a simple exercise. You lay down on the bench, you take a bar, you touch your chest, you press it all the way up. But there's definitely a few more intricate details to the bench press that I think are important for us as physical therapists to understand, especially when people come to us with some performance goals in mind. So we're going to talk through that. For those that are watching live on the video, I'm going to have Jordan hop up on the bench so I can demonstrate some of that to you, but I'll also kind of explain what I'm looking at for those listening to the podcast later on. So the first thing we're going to start with on the bench press is the feet, which are super commonly overlooked. But the feet provide kind of the foundation for support for the entire body. And a lot of athletes aren't going to focus on really getting their feet planted down onto the ground, which again, kind of almost creates like a tripod base so that you just have more stability. We'll get to the leg drive in a few minutes. If you don't have a good foot setup position, you're not going to be able to get a good leg drive out of the bench press, which is going to significantly hurt the amount of weight that you can lift. So the bench press is primarily upper body movement, but we'll get to later what happens in the lower body to create more movement on the bar. So once we have kind of stable feet, some people are going to be really flat-footed in their setup, where they have full foot contact. Other people are going to kind of be like Jordan is right now, where he's on his toes. That to me doesn't really matter. There are some different federation requirements around that, where some federations require a full foot contact. But really, it's just important that we have a firm, solid foundation, that they've got kind of a grip on the floor, that they're not kicking their legs around everywhere. From there, the next really important thing to create a stable foundation is to get the shoulder blades retracted and depressed. So you'll see a lot of individuals set up a lot differently, like Jordan's lifting his back off the bench, then pulling his shoulder blades back and getting those locked down and back. And he's actually got his weight kind of almost into his upper tract, mid to upper tracts in his upper back, and he's kind of compressing his body down into that so that his own body weight is helping to maintain that scapular retraction. That scap retraction is going to make it much easier for him to press from later. I see a lot of individuals that have difficulty with this. So one assessment I really like to do with individuals is just have them stand, hands down at their side, and look at what happens when they go into scapular retraction. You'll see a lot of really weird things happen. A lot of individuals can't isolate this movement, and they'll end up doing a lot of thoracolumbar extension to make up for their inability to really retract their shoulder blades. And sometimes you'll see that come up in some bench press related shoulder pain where people just can't hold that scapular retraction. A couple of really important things from a mobility perspective to look at in individuals with a bench press. We're going to start at the shoulder. As the individual goes through the bench press, the shoulder goes into extension. And not a lot of individuals pay attention to their shoulder extension mobility. We don't need a ton, but if an individual doesn't have enough shoulder extension to get their hands to where they're in line with their chest, then as they get down towards the bottom of the bench press, they're going to have to dump their shoulder blade in order to touch the bar to their chest. And a lot of times you'll see that kind of be correlated with some anterior shoulder blade or anterior shoulder pain when they can't keep that scapular retraction due to lack of shoulder extension. We'll talk about the arch in a second, but the second big mobility piece to look at is, does that individual have good thoracic spine mobility? If they don't, they'll end up arching solely from their lumbar spine. So we want to make sure we have good thoracic extension. And then as you can see in the video here, Jordan's actually in a bit of hip extension. So sometimes you'll have to address an individual's hip extension to be able to get their lower body into a better position for the bench press. Now let's get into a little bit more of the technical components for somebody competitive in the bench press or that really values lifting heavy weights. So in the bench press, what most individuals do is they press the bar straight up. So they have a straight vertical bar path. And actually that's a less efficient movement. What we want to see is what's called a J-curve. There's been research studies on some elite powerlifters, and essentially the powerlifters that bench press numbers continued to go up were those that were adapting more and more of this J-curve, and those that kind of stayed the same were those that kind of kept a vertical bar path. So learning how to create a J-curve bar path is important. So Jordan's going to first demonstrate here just a straight vertical bar path. And it's going to be a little hard to see on the video here, but if we're going straight vertical, we have a larger shoulder moment arm because that bar is staying further away from these shoulder joints. If off of his chest, Jordan actually presses the bar back towards his face and then up with this little J-curve, it's going to decrease that shoulder flexion moment arm. That's going to allow us to lift a heavier weight. So having an individual learn to adapt that J-curve can have some huge performance benefits. And a lot of athletes are leaving 20, 30, 50 pounds on their bench press because they do this straight vertical bar path. Now, how do we create that J-curve? Well, one really important way is through a leg drive. So we kind of discussed the stable foot earlier, but what we should see as a competitive individual bench presses is that when the bar touches their chest, they're actually going to initiate that press by almost kicking their legs forward. So if you're watching on the video, you're going to actually see Jordan's body shift horizontally up about an inch. Again, this is a horizontal kick. What we'll see a lot of individuals do is a hips up kick. So they create a vertical kick. You'll see this in high school weight rooms all the time. But that horizontal kick is going to start that J-curve a little bit. It's going to start that upward momentum on the barbell. And when you use a really good leg drive, you can throw a lot more weight onto the bar. So really want to dial in that leg drive. The last thing from a competitive standpoint, and this was the question on the iStudents past and present Facebook page for people that have previously taken our courses, is the arch in the bench press. When you look at competitive powerlifters, you're going to see this extreme arch that they make throughout their entire body. So Jordan's going to kind of demonstrate that a little bit right now, where he's really lining everything up. So he's got his entire anterior chain loaded up. What that's going to do is, number one, it shortens the range of motion through which he has to press. The second thing is that entire tension throughout the anterior chain will kind of make it a little easier for him to transmit that leg drive into the barbell. Now, the question was asked, is this safe? And from the fitness athlete division standpoint, we do believe it's a safe movement. It's a thing that maybe you can make an argument that you don't want to do if you're not a competitive powerlifter. Maybe we do want to train through more range of motion if we're not solely focused on lifting more weights. But is it safe to be in that arch position? We believe so, because the axial loading through the spine in that position is not significant. You will every now and then see somebody that when they get in that setup, they have a hinge point where they move significantly more maybe through their thoracolumbar junction versus through the entire spine. And sometimes those people will become irritable in that area. And that's just like anything where certain individuals are going to get bothered in certain positions. And for them, we maybe want to work on something like thoracic mobility or controlling that hinge point a little bit better. But from an overall standpoint, the arch in competitive bench pressers is not an unsafe movement to do, and it's a big competitive advantage. Thanks, Jordan. The final thing I want to talk about with bench press 101. Inside the fitness athlete division, we're pretty big on not just helping people get out of pain, but having them live happier, healthier lives and performing better at the sports that they want. So when we go through our Fitness Athlete Live course or Essential Foundation or Advanced Concepts, we're picking out things and movements that as physios will see that maybe their CrossFit coach won't see, that kind of clues them in on what sort of accessory movements would really help this individual perform better. Well, with the bench press, there's a couple of weak spots that will really point you towards what you should have an individual work on. So if an individual, for instance, is weak off the chest, like they have a really hard time getting a heavy weight moving off of their chest, but once they get past a certain point, they can always lock it out, that's typically indicative of somebody that has some pec weakness. So off the chest, pec weakness, individual that's weak in the middle ranges of motion is typically going to be shoulder weakness, and an individual that's weaker in the lockout is typically going to be tricep weakness. So if you're working with somebody trying to up their bench press, look at where they break down when they get to those heavy loads, and that might be a great way for you to maybe suggest some different accessory work for them. If that individual has difficulty locking it out, maybe you're suggesting that they throw in a couple days of high rep tricep push downs and once a week doing some board press where they're not going through the full range of motion, they're just working on training that lockout, but that can have a really big performance impact on people. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more insight into the bench press and helps you out with some future patients that are either having bench press pain or bench press performance issues. As always, reach out to anybody in the Fitness Athlete Division if there's a topic you'd like to see us do in the future, and head to ptonice.com to register for courses. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.